Hi Cliff, this is Jim Gillis with Win My Vote, and thanks so much for your time. I figured I'd give you a quick little video demo of our site and how it works. And then just for some background, when we first set out to build Win My Vote, we wanted to design it as the level playing field. And we thought, what would the components, what would we need for it to be a level playing field where voters wanted to go there and then stayed there and then made their decision there. Looked at all the different candidates, compared them side by side, and made their decision. And for us, it seemed real simple, right? The needs of the voters were things like finding my polling place, knowing what's on my ballot, knowing the date of the election, some really, really basic stuff where there was no site like that. There were plenty of partisan sites, but there was nothing where a voter could really go up and compare the candidates side by side, all the candidates in all the races. So that's how the platform works. So for example, if I lived in Montana, I could do a Montana zip code and hit search, and I would see all the ballots in 2006, the presidential ballots and that type of stuff. And then this one coming up 2017, coming up on May 25th. So now I get to see, the Democrat, the Republican, the Libertarian, as well as an independent. And I can click on those candidates and learn a little bit more about them.
For generations, this old rifle has protected my family's ranch. In Congress, I'll protect your right to bear arms.
And needless to say, Montana is, both candidates, or all the candidates, are very pro-gun. So most of these issues, surround that.
And thank you, Greg and Rob, for being in the community in North Glacier County National Mine. I learned to have my love for the wild, open spaces, in this time frame. And to me, this is the defining issue of this race. Of course.
And after I get done looking at, this candidate, I simply go back to my ballot and click on the next candidate.
I'm Greg Gianforte. When I first decided to run for public office, a lot of people told me I was crazy. And after being the target of lies and endless mudslinging, sometimes I think those folks may have had a point. But through it all, my resolve to make a difference.
And now I'll check out the Libertarian candidate. Now, I have been in touch with the New Libertarians on Facebook, and I've reached out to Mark a bunch of times. Would love to get a video from him to put up there, so that I could have that along with some of the issue statements here. But that's one of the reasons why I'm sort of really actively going after both the Libertarian Party. I was sort of going after the Green Party last election, but that's a different story of I don't think they have the same resolve to be taken seriously and be, in the mix on lots of things. They seem to be happy to be outside. But, with this ballot, as Libertarian candidates build their profiles and they go on to Win My Vote, and we try to drive as much traffic to Win My Vote as possible, then that's where the decisions will be made, right? If we can get enough people on there, that's where the decision will be made, and money will no longer be a big influence on that. Because as you can see, if I go through all the issues here and I decide that I like Mark, I simply favorite him. He now moves to the front of the race. You can see here that it's 50-50. Someone else on this ballot favorited Rob, and I favorited Mark, so he's 50-50, and he moves to the front and it's green. The nice thing about this is he can reach out to me one time, or I can see one of his signs or whatever it may be. I can go up here, I can compare the candidates, I can say, you know what, I like him, he's my favorite, that's it. I can then share that on social media. I can add this to any one of my online calendars. I can print it out if I want, or I can just access it on my cell phone. And then I can find my polling place. I can click here and put my address in, find out where the place is I need to go to vote, and on what the hours of the polling place is open. And I have that all, again, on my cell phone in my pocket. So as the election approaches, I can get an email from Win My Vote that says, hey, don't forget to vote, here's your ballot. I can click on it, there's Mark Wicks, I can go down and vote. So the way that groups and organizations work, they're called trusted sources. And these are, again, groups, organizations, clubs, individuals, that type of stuff. I'll give you an example of one of their group pages. We'll use the AFL-CIO. So this is a group page. You would make a group page, and again, it's totally free to groups and organizations and free to voters. You create a group page, and then you make endorsements, right? So you would just click on Make Endorsements. You would choose a state. Make an endorsement of, say, Gavin Newsom in California. You start typing in Gavin. You click on his name. You click his star. It says you want to do a written or a video. You say sure thing. And you can, do the written one right in here, and you can make it bold or italics, or, embed links or images or videos. You can also use a URL, the share URL from YouTube. You can just do a cut and paste right in there, and that will be your video endorsement. And I'll show you what that looks like, on a different ballot real quickly. So I'm going to let this thing run just to show you how easy it is to change. So as a voter, I'm just going to now change my zip code to a San Francisco zip code, and these are my districts. I don't really need to do this, every time, because not all these seats will be up for election each year. But I'll just set those out. And when you first type in your first zip code, these will all auto-populate. It's just that when you change, you have to go in and select them, which that's on our list of things to do, by the way, to change. But you can see here, this is the San Francisco, California. So here's the presidential ballot. Now, we did this for the National Student Parent Mock Election, which was about 5 million teachers and students, nationwide, and we did it in November. And again, I can talk with you about that, but all these percentages up here, were correct, and they scaled. So you won't see them changing when I favorite people like that, right? They'll stay the same because it's lots of votes. Anyway, as a voter, right, I'm going to click on the candidate profile, learn a little bit more about the candidate, and then over here I'll be able to see the groups and organizations that are endorsing this candidate, right? So I can go, oh, Jesse Ventura, like that's actually pretty interesting.
Congratulations on the book. A lot to delve into.
Thanks.
And we'll get to the book in just a moment.
Sure.
But I want to ask you about what happened this morning with Gary Johnson. What was your reaction?
Much ado about nothing.
In what sense?
Well, the reason is Gary Johnson supports full withdrawal from the war. I agree with him. So once you've withdrawn from the Middle East, who's going to care about that city anymore?
But if
None
it's
of us.
at the epicenter, at the heart of the conflict and what's going on in Syria.
And we're wrong to be there in the first place. The Iraq War was the worst political decision this country's ever made, to go into Iraq.
Anyway, I'm just sorry to let it run. I'm not sure if I saw that whole thing before. Anyway, so with that, I say, hey, this is great, and I can, scroll through and I can watch another one.
Stockholders and friends of happy about the current political charge, Patrick. Thank you so much.
David, it's such a pleasure to be seen.
Great to.
Thanks for having. It's good to see you again.
All right, let's talk about politics, because you are very interested in the political scene in America, and we've got 4 people running for president right now. Of course, all the focus is just on the top 2. Do you have a horse in the race at all?
Yes, I think there's only one choice. That's Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson,
the Libertarian candidate.
The Libertarian.
Yeah, and see, the way that these groups work is that they can go up, form their own group, and you can form as many groups as you want. It's very much like Facebook. And then you go through and you make those endorsements, and then you reach out to your supporters or targeted supporters, and they select you as a trusted source. And in that way, it's just the order of the endorsements, so that you're at the top of the list and that type of stuff. We're actually working on a couple of features right now which allow the candidates to then shuffle those around and make them, top of the line, whichever ones they want up there. But either way, it's a great way for me as a voter to say, yeah, I want to know who the Libertarian candidate is, and I also want to know some of these groups and organizations that are supporting that candidate. I also want to know what they're supporting. For example, I'll show you how propositions work. And sorry, I know this video is running long, but so propositions, right? If I were to go down here and say Proposition 60 or Proposition 55, it's one I've used enough. They all start as undecided. Sorry about that. But here I can look and I can see all the groups and organizations that are supporting it, as well as all the groups and organizations that are voting no. And if I want to learn a little bit more about it, I can see here that the California Libertarian Party is voting no on that. But let's say, so this little video icon indicates that it has a video. So here, Ethan Behrman uploaded a video, so I can, watch that.
When does
correctly.
temporary mean temporary? Well, it doesn't here in California when it comes to money and taxes. We passed Proposition 30 back in 2012. Other states have two, state level, district level. I say absolutely no. By the way, I have kids in public schools in California. I want the best public schools. I still say no on Prop 55.
And then just to let you know from a video standpoint, you can get rid of those little ads and do a couple of other things, which will walk people through on the how-to stuff. But with that, right, I can say, okay, great, I'm voting no on this. And then I can go back to my ballot, and then you can see it's nice and prominently, displayed here, no, again, which makes it easier if I'm just looking at it on my cell phone. I can also see how the proposition is doing, right? 13% are voting yes, 7% are voting no, and 80% are still undecided. So again, this ballot and the way that we use demo ballots and other stuff is not as clean as we would use on the regular ballots. But this one probably had about 50,000. No, not 50. About 5,000 people in California for the mock election, because we didn't have all of the propositions in the mock election. We just had a couple. So this would have, I think, about 5,000 or so participants. But I guess that doesn't really matter that much, though. But it can display that, and it can show how many people have yet to favorite it, which is a great measuring stick for both sides, right? Those are supporting and those are opposing, knowing that is their message resonating? Are people watching the video and still being undecided? It tells them that, look, you change your video and maybe you can sway that other 80% in your direction. There's still plenty of votes out there, to be got. So there's a variety of other functions on the site, and it kind of has tentacles in lots of different directions that we're exploring. But we'd love to talk with groups like you, because we see, you guys as the perfect fit. Each time we were talking about features and doing stuff, we were thinking level playing field. We were thinking everybody should know the Libertarian and the Green and the independent candidate in every race, in school board. I'm not sure if I had showed you that, but we go all the way down the ballot. So if it's on your ballot for real, it's going to be on the Win My Vote ballot. There's a couple of obscure Texas sort of districts and stuff that are really kind of funky to figure out, on how to do that. But for the most part, all these districts are really, straightforward. They either follow zip codes or county lines or those types of things. So we've kind of figured all that stuff out so that we can go all the way down the ballot to, community college board and that type of thing. And again, most of these are nonpartisan, but people figure it out real quickly that this guy's a Democrat running as a nonpartisan, or they're a Republican running as a nonpartisan, or a Libertarian. So there's also another thing that I'd love to talk with you about, which is just using this platform as a recruiting tool. And that is, I'll give you an example of that real quickly. I think it's, and again, I'm doing this real time just to sort of show you the flexibility of the platform. So that's the Seattle zip code, and I'll just do, I'm not going to change all the other ones. I'll just do the, because there is a Seattle city. So it's August 1st. So here's the candidates for mayor of Seattle. And I know that there is I just talked to the Libertarian group, and I know that there's a Libertarian candidate that's running for mayor. And I reached out to all of the candidates a bunch of different times. But I'd be happy to, because he's not up here, I can tell. I'd be happy to put him on here and start building his profile. But this would be a good example of you guys being able to reach out to your database of Libertarian candidates or other Libertarian candidates to do, or just if they do it on their own, to get up on these ballots. But you guys can use this to go to every race in the country, and I'd be happy to talk with you about how we can set that up, to look for candidates that you guys want to endorse and that you want to promote and that you want to learn more about. And and with that, help them, in that way. But again, sorry about the long video. Would love to talk with you and kind of brainstorm a little bit about it, because we're constantly, building out new features and that type of thing. And there may be some that you're interested in and that we're working on, and we'd be happy to finish them off. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.